We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
It's the Weiliotis podcast.
I like it.
Hey, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Weiliotis podcast, where Mikey and I spend about 50 minutes talking about everything but the movie that is on for today. But it's okay. We'll get there eventually. But before we get into everything, with me as always is, of course, my good friends, co-host, Mikey Wheel. How you doing today, my friend?
What is going on? I'm swear I'm not distracted. I'm going to set up a separate recording of me. I'm recording in my living room today. Kind of using my new mic stand, older mic. I'm hoping the audio is good, but I'm gonna provide a backup just in case.
Oh, good. I mean, the audio you sent me sounded really good. So
Yeah,
it was crisp. It was crispy.
it's the best visual I've had. The lighting in this room is very good. The background's really nice.
I was saying your lighting almost looks like the same lighting for the poster there, which is cool.
But to answer your question, I think you asked how things are going. Things are going good. I'm, as always, I have about 50 minutes worth of catching up on TV shows and movies and talking about new trailers, new things coming out, things I'm excited for, some summer blockbusters, announcements. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the movie we're talking about today. I don't remember when we introduce it, but I guess we can do it now, especially because everybody's watching this, obviously. They must know. But yeah, you had reached out. You said, hey, I want to do an episode on Hell or Highwater. I was like, oh, I remember that movie a few years ago. I remember seeing that when it came out. I was very excited to revisit it, and we'll get into that. But it's yeah, I think the review I gave to Tom today, my review of this is Hell or Highwater is No Country for Old Men if it were a good movie.
Yeah, that hurt a little bit, but it's okay.
Because this movie it's under 2 hours, super impressive. But what I like about it is half the movie, like nothing really happens, and it's just a lot of dialogue and a lot of beautiful scenery and exterior shots, and then there's also a lot of action at some points. I would equal it to a Quentin Tarantino movie, where it's like not a lot happens, but when it happens, it's violent, it's gory, it's fun, it's action packed. You'll enjoy it. That's how I think every Tarantino movie is. It's like 2.5 hours of pointless dialogue, and then like 17 minutes of the most gruesome violence you've ever seen.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I've never made that connection with this movie, but I can kind of see that, and that's something a lot of my favorite movies do, is that there is that contrast where like a good portion of the movie might be kind of quiet, or there's just kind of like nice dialogue, and then there's those insanely kind of brutal action scenes that kind of contrast nicely with it. But yeah, we'll get into that soon. Hell or Highwater, directed by David Mackenzie, written by Taylor Sheridan, who has had quite the career. But yeah, before we kind of break all that down and talk about it, what should we dig in first? Recent watches, some movie news. What's got you interested right now, Mikey?
Recent, just because to keep in order, I'd say let's do recent watches, but I got a lot for upcoming stuff I'm excited about. I have a lot I can talk about with that. But yeah, I like how you put it in the disclaimer in the beginning that we're going to be talking for 50 minutes about other stuff.
It's just part of the course now. Like it's just what we do.
In case, you know what, I was thinking we do this in case people only listen to the first 7 minutes of our podcast, we're going to announce some big stuff in the beginning. We're not going to make you wait till the end. So
let's do it.
Our social media, we'll probably plug that again at the end. Weiliotis Podcast or the Weiliotis Podcast. That's where you can find us. And then our website, our second website went live. So you can find us on theweiliotispodcast.com. And
it's our directory. So yeah, you can find every platform we're on. Yep. Absolutely.
YouTube videos. We're going to find us on social. And then, as you've probably heard, if you know, we have a running gag on our podcast that this podcast has nothing to do with Ray Liotta. It's just our last two names, Wheel and Weiliotis, together sound a lot like Ray Liotta. So we started a website called layriota.com, which you said is called a spoonbender?
Oh no, what is it called? Spoonerism. So
Spoonerism.
I think it's when you take a word and you replace the first, or in this case, you have Ray and Leota, and you just replace the first letters and switch them out.
And
Lay
I love
Leota.
spoonerisms. Never knew what they were called. I do them all the time, and
I do
as
too.
Tom,
It's weirdly kind of fun.
it is. And as we were starting this podcast, it's like you can't come up with anything that hasn't been done before. Band name, podcast name. You can't be the movie podcast or two guys talking, where you have to be like, all right, Tom, what's your birth date minus my birth date plus our favorite tree? Like you have to be like that. So layriota.com did not exist. And I had my friend purchase it. And basically it's going to be a super, super simple website. When you're looking for something new to watch, you just go on, you reach out, and you say, I like Liam Neeson action movies. And Tom and I will get that, and we'll say, hey, those are great. Have you watched Jason Statham's, what were his movies called? Crank?
Yeah, Crank. There's two of them. Crank and then Crank 2 High Voltage, which are really fun movies.
With Amy Smart. Yep.
Yeah, and I gotta give props to you, Mikey, because you had the idea originally. You kind of brought it to me, and I thought it was great. And then you have designed the website, the first iteration of it, which is awesome. And, it should be a good challenge for us too, because hopefully over time we get more requests, and it kind of we'll use our brains and try to provide the most accurate requests we can find for you. And like you said, it could be as something basic as, oh, I like Liam Neeson action movies, or it can be super like specific, like you'd be like, oh, I want early 90s like gruesome body horror from 1992 only or something, and we'll try to because we're always watching stuff. If you follow us, every episode, even if we do episodes back to back, we'll have watched multiple movies or TV shows pretty often. So, and I think I said it in the last episode or the one before, but my goal this year is to watch a movie every day, or at least the equivalent. So by the end of the year, have 365 movies watched, and that can include short films too. That's kind of the little caveat I'm giving myself, because sometimes you can't watch a 90-minute movie every day.
Are those all new movies new movies to you, or repeats?
New, so they have to be. I have to count them as new. So right now, I think I'm at like 20 something, which is pretty impressive for me, because by this point, I don't usually have that many new movies watched. So
it's also. I was gonna say it's also gonna limit you like rewatching your favorite movies, because you're gonna be like, where do I allocate my time to? Yeah,
I know, that's a good point. And there's a lot I want to rewatch, specifically from last year too. But there's also a lot from last year I need to watch. Have you heard or seen what's it called, Mitchell and the Machines, or?
That's the animated movie.
Mitchell's
right?
and the Machines, I think. Yeah, that like it looks really cool. The animation style is fantastic. It looks like just CGI, but like just really kooky and zany, and I don't know. I'm very interested, and everyone seems to love it. But that's one I missed out on. I think it's on Netflix.
I remember hearing about it briefly, and then I saw it in the Oscar ballots, which we're going to talk a little bit about too. But yeah, one movie. So it can be like a movie that's new to you, right? Even if it's like a movie from like 1994 that I recommend. Or are you only talking like 2022 movies?
No, it doesn't really matter too much. Like, yeah. So
well, if you need any recommendations, you know where to go.
That is right.
layriota.com. Ka-chow.
You need.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. So as people request stuff, we're gonna put it into an archive, and then eventually, hopefully over time, people can just search and find stuff. But it's gonna be all live, especially before we really build it out. So if you reach out to us, we'll get an email. We'll respond to you pretty quickly. We'll probably post the suggestion on our social. And yeah, it'll just be super fun, because we also have a lot of streaming channels. So if you literally say it's Friday and I have HBO Max, what do you recommend? We'll throw some stuff out your way. Maybe we'll even start doing some movie reviews or something on there. Maybe a checklist of movies. I don't know. We'll make it pretty simple. Yeah. So that is what we've been up to. And then we've also been working on a sketch video. So I came to Tom, us both being from New England, and I had an idea for a movie trailer. I've realized if you want to get a video to have a lot of views, and by a lot of views, I mean more than most of my videos, so it's still not that many, take another video and just switch it around. So, like people will be like, hey, we made Home Alone an R-rated movie trailer. Hey, we made, Halloween a kid's movie, or we made Titanic a rom-com or something. So basically I made one that was Joyride 4, the fake trailer, and I made it all with, I think we've talked about this, Vegas Vacation, and I had Randy Quaid be the trucker. And then my other one, I did Rihanna, Winnie the Pooh with Rihanna, and it was Bitch Better Have My Honey. And those videos have gotten the most views. So if you don't have friends to film with, if you don't have good equipment, if you can't really edit that well, download videos that I already made, splice them together, and I think by the time this episode comes out, we'll have already released it. So it's called Donkey's Heist 3D, and it is the newest Boston heist movie, starring every Boston actor you've ever heard of. Super fun for us to make, and we got to actually get ourselves into the trailer a little bit too, because we always write ourselves into things or
give it more personality, and also living across, we're 3,000 miles away from each other. We're just gonna use the magic of filmmaking, green screen, and that'll be fun. I love experimenting with green screen.
Movie magic.
Oh yeah.
So I guess let's kick it off with what have you been watching? What have you been since our last episode? What was our last episode?
Our last episode was on Don't Look Up.
Yeah.
By one Adam McKay.
Yeah. What have you been watching?
I've been watching a lot of stuff. Well, one thing I watched recently it was fun, but it was just really stupid. I did see Moonfall, the new Roland Emmerich disaster movie, space disaster AI sci-fi movie.
Please tell me you saw it in 3D or IMAX.
No, wasn't available where I was.
No.
Well, it's funny now because like what do I have now? I don't have AMC Plus right now. I actually have I did the Regal Unlimited. I signed up for that recently because it's literally unlimited. Like I think AMC's it's 3 movies a week, which is still a lot, but I like the idea of having you can see as many as you want. And the only drawback though is they do add a surcharge on for like IMAX and stuff. But the theater I went to, I don't think they had Moonfall and IMAX specifically. But yeah, it's crazy because it's like every Roland Emmerich movie like morphed into one movie.
Did he do Independence Day?
Yeah, Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow, 2012. And it's so dumb and it's so predictable. Like every character motivation, like I said, it's like ripped from Day After Tomorrow, ripped from 2012. Like he, it seems like they just spliced all these elements from his movies, but like it's fun and it's also I think it's up there with Cloud Atlas as being the most expensive independent movie ever made.
Now, what makes it independent? It's not backed by a major studio?
Yeah, and I think like personal funding or finding more personal funding and not backed by a major studio, and so that alone is impressive. I think it's like $150 million budget, which is wild. And I mean, it looks good for the most part. There's some questionable stuff in there, but
is there really?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like it's both a disaster movie and a like futuristic AI movie, which is kind of cool. Like to combine both of them. Unfortunately, there's not enough time spent on both to where they kind of fall flat. Unfortunately, they don't really mesh as well as they could. And like I said, the CGI at times is really great. Like there's obviously some really great like destruction of cities, and even like the AI technology they have is really cool. But there's some other shots that are questionable, and like I don't know, they like it's more character motives. Like there's a scene when they just like so if you don't know the plot of the movie, the moon somehow gets out of its gravitational it's gravitational force, like something fucks with it, so now it's rearing closer and closer to Earth, but it gets close, so it gets to the point where it's basically like scraping against the Earth, and like people are just like, oh my god, the moon's coming, like like that makes any sense ever. Like so it's great, like on that, like once you like logic is thrown out the window is basically what I'm trying to say. But there's a scene when like bits of the moon are falling off and they're coming down like asteroids, like hitting, it's almost like Don't Look Up in a sense, like they're like hitting the Earth and destroying parts of it. And some of the characters, they like turn their shoulder and look at a mountain, and a piece of the moon hits like a mountain and just like blows up the mountain, and they're just like, huh, okay, keep moving. Like they're just like unfazed by it. There's stuff like that. Like this movie has all sorts of stuff like that. Like
I need to watch it.
It's
real soon.
I don't know. Like I guess I'd recommend it just because it's like, for one thing, I don't, I don't know, certain disaster, I don't know, it's Roland Emmerich, and like, he has made some pretty great disaster movies. So like, and there's some cool stuff regarding that. And like I said, even like the sci-fi elements are kind of cool and it's a good cast too. Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry is in this. Halle Berry. Yeah, they're great in it for the most part. But yeah, weird, just like again, totally nonsensical movie, but I had fun with it. And then
I've never heard you review a movie so much and say for the most part after everything. I mean, it was good for the most part. The acting was decent for the most part. The special effects were good for the most part.
Yeah, that's what this movie is. It's like everything. Like there are so many elements that are done right, and then so many aspects that are just not. That are, like I said, just the scraping of like plot points from other movies is so apparent. To the point where you can kind of just guess what's going to happen with every character. And
what is the AI part of it? I didn't know that there was like an AI.
Yeah. So the AI, for the most part, no. Yeah, so basically, they're like, all right, why is the moon going off course? Why is it veering closer to Earth? And they find out that there's like in the moon, like the moon's hollow, and there's like an AI. There's AI in the moon that was left over from a previous like civilization that predated Earth. So I kind of like that aspect of it, where like, because there's like all theories about, oh, like what, like even in real life, there's theories about, oh, like were there more advanced civilizations that got wiped out like thousands of years ago, and we just don't know because everything was destroyed. So that's kind of the idea about it, where it's like Earth was really advanced. They created AI like thousands of years ago, and they created a moon base, and then it like took over and destroyed everything. But it remained on the moon, and then something disturbed it, and they moved, and it caused the moon to scrape against the Earth.
Is that the twist in the movie or no?
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of like that. Yeah, there's somewhat of like a reveal about that, because
because the trailer makes it out to be like the greatest secret ever unknown to man. Is that what it is?
Pretty much, yeah. It's just like this insane AI, that can destroy everything. So, and it lives in the moon.
I was reading something recently about how a dog went up in space before anybody else or any human did. And I always think about dogs at dog parks, and if they ever are like, hey Steve, my house is a mansion. It's got a bedroom and it's got a den. And then somebody else is like, oh really? Well, my house has 18 bedrooms. And like, do you think dogs compare and contrast? Do they know what's big, what's small? Do they know the difference? And all I can think about was a dog went to space before any human went to space. What did that dog tell its friends? Like, what did...
Oh, right.
Those are amazing stories. Did anybody believe him? What did he think?
My guess is like when he got off the ship, he was just like, space, and then he just like saw a ball on the ground. He's like, oh my god, ball, and that was it. He just forgot about space.
The moon was pretty, squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel. Exactly.
Do you think that he was like, yeah, it was a pretty nice trip, but the re-entry to Earth was pretty rough.
Oh, but I'm tish. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
I love a good dog pun.
Get home safe.
So yeah, Moonfall was something. Also, but I've definitely watched some better movies too. I saw Jackass Forever.
I'm seeing it Sunday.
It was a ton of fun. I mean, to be expected, right? Like I mean, if you're a millennial, you probably love Jackass. Grew up, watching the show on MTV, and then I loved all three prior movies, especially the second one. And they obviously, with every movie, they tend to get more ridiculous and more ballsy. That's another pun with their pranks and their
less ballsy.
Oh yeah, I mean, this movie in particular has so many stunts that involve like some genital mutilation. It's horrifying. Like there's like too much of it almost. But it's interesting because this is the first movie where they bring on like new cast members, and it makes sense because it's been about 10 years or so, even more actually since the third one. So there's some notable faces. If you know Odd Future, with back in the day with Tyler the Creator, Jasper, who was one of the members, he's now an official part of the crew.
Oh,
and
wow.
They have their first female who's part of the crew now. And this guy, his literal nickname is Poopies. I forget the story. They explain why his name is Poopies, but he's like one of the first people we see, and he's just like, "Hi, I'm Poopies," and like, it was funny.
You're selling it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's like, what more do you want? It's exactly what you expect. They start off obviously with like a grand theatrical opening, and I won't spoil it because it's really fucking funny. But if you like Jackass, you're gonna love it. If you don't like Jackass, you probably won't like it. If you don't like people getting hit in the balls 24/7 and just doing horrible stuff to each other.
Your reviews are on par today.
Hell yeah.
Our new review segment, for the most part, with Tom Weiliotis, and if you like it, you'll like it. If you don't like it, you probably won't like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jackass is just one of those things. It's one of
you
those
love it or you hate it. There's no in between with Jackass. Nobody ever walks out and goes, "Yeah, it was okay." You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, is."
pretty
Well,
good
let me
time, I
ask you
guess.
this: you said the second one was your favorite. I don't even remember the difference in the three. What stuck out to you in the second one out of the four?
Shit, I'm trying to remember actually, because sometimes when I think about these movies, they all just kind of blend in with each other. I think the second one is, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be the third one. Shit, I forget. It's the one where Johnny Knoxville gets hit by the bull, like the first movie where he gets hit by the bull, and they actually kind of recreate some of the stunts in this movie, but they try to find ways to make it a little more crazy. And also, I don't know, to me, like, just looking back, the second one it just felt like the most consistent. And but like I said, they all just get crazier as they go on. And like like I said, the intro little theatrical thing they do is super funny, and they don't hold back. And also, again, there's more, like, they bring on more kind of side guest character, or not, I mean, they play themselves obviously in the movie, but they bring on, like, Eric Andre has a couple moments in the movie. They're pretty funny. I kind of wish they utilized him more. I wish he had, like, more like prank stuff in it, but they did explain that it was hard to do that because of COVID when they were filming this, so they couldn't do as much in-person stuff.
And he just did a prank movie produced by, I think, probably
Jeff
Jeff
Tremaine.
Tremaine.
Yeah, Bad
He
Trip, which
did.
is fantastic.
What is it? It's good, yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
really good. Like,
I was gonna say, what I'm excited about for the new Jackass movie is, like, it looks like there's some more bad grandpa kind of stuff going on.
in Bad Trip, or
No, in the new Jackass, looks like there's
kind of, like, well, that's the thing. Like, there actually is, like, they bring back that character, or Johnny Knoxville does, but like I said, there wasn't as much. I think they said, or there was like a thing after the movie, like after the credits, where it was like a little interview with some of the new cast members and some old ones, and I think Johnny Knoxville specifically said that they had to hold back, or there was some stuff they couldn't do because it was like right in the beginning and right in the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, like, it was just a lot different at that time, obviously. But
I'm gonna see it Sunday. I'm gonna probably miss part of the Super Bowl,
nice.
which I'm very okay with. Yeah.
No, great. Yeah, it's fun. I think you're gonna love it. And then also recently, not a newer movie, but I watched We're the Millers with
Nice.
Jason Sudeikis,
I've
and
been
I
waiting
watched.
for the sequel for a little while now. There's supposed to be a sequel.
Yeah, I wonder if it seems like a movie that there's a lot you could do with that concept.
Yeah.
I liked it quite a bit though. And obviously I watched it because I've been watching Ted Lasso. I just finished season 1 of that, and Jason Sudeikis is so fucking good in that show. It's crazy.
I mean, I've never seen a show with so many good one-liners that you just want to quote forever.
Yeah, you were right, because you said, like, right before I started, you're like literally everything he says is quotable and funny and sentimental, and it's very true. It's a great show, but
I think second season, Rebecca says, "Have you ever seen the musical once?" And he goes, He says, "I liked one so much I saw it twice."
no, yeah,
And it's just like you just
that's
want
such a
to
Ted
write
Lasso
down
line.
everything. It's like the best show that's currently, well, there's a couple best shows. Of course, Yellow Jackets. I like This Is Us.
Yep, I
a
just
lot,
finished that too, which was
yeah,
crazy.
we need to do our own episode on that one.
We definitely should, like, right before season 2, whenever that comes out. But
yeah, that is the best. I mean, Ted Lasso is 3 seasons in. Yellow Jackets is the best show of last year. I mean, it's just, although the only thing I didn't like about it was, like, the voodoo witchery stuff.
Well, that stuff, it seems like I would imagine they're going to expand upon it more, because it seemed kind of subtle. Like, they would show it here and there, but it was always in like I guess they tried to frame it in a way that kind of caught you off guard. You're like, wait, what are they doing with that heart?
Why did the girl blow up in the plane with the teddy bear?
Yeah.
Was
yeah.
I'm hoping that we find out that, like, somebody hit an explosive in the bear. Like I don't get me wrong, I absolutely love I love Lost, and I love the mystery behind Lost. I love anything that takes place on a stranded something. I love Lord of the Flies. It's one of my favorite books. I love Castaway. I love all these things. But I wanted this to be like a realistic Lost. And then it starts to get into, like, there's a voodoo and she's dreaming up things that are coming true. And I'm like, no, I just want it to be about a crash plane in the Alps, and this happens. And the funny thing is, I can't explain the show without calling it an island. Like they crash in
I
the
know.
Canadian Alps, and I can't explain the show and be like, well, when they crash on the island of Canada.
They crashed in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. Yeah, I have no idea where the fuck they are, but yeah, like I guess I don't know. I I don't agree only because there's so much left to be said in the show. Like I feel like by the end of it, I had more questions than when I began. I was just like, okay, you're right. Like why is there all this mysticism, this like this voodoo kind of weird dark magic going on, and why did the plane explode? Because from what I remember from that scene, she's flying, everything's going good, and then the teddy bear just magically like combusts, it just catches on fire, and then that's all we know. That scene was really sad too. There's a lot of like really heartbreaking scenes, and the actors in this show are fantastic. They sell it completely.
The casting, the acting, everything is just like, I mean, just fantastic.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I do like more of the mystical stuff in a sense is just because it just creates intrigue, and I think for the most part they do a good job at slowly introducing this kind of stuff and how it's affecting different characters, and obviously in the present day or in 2021 how it's affecting them as adults, how it's carried with them for 25 years, and what that means for their life, for their marriages and everything. So it's fascinating, and I love it too because also the balance between 1996 and 2021 is really well done. I'm never like, oh, I want to see more of this or that. I feel like they're both equally really unique, and it's a great show.
I waited all season to find out what happened to the best friend, and then because she froze to death, right?
Yeah.
She freezes.
Spoilers, sorry guys.
She freezes to death in the last episode because the whole time you're like, why have we not seen her in present day? She's one of the main characters.
Yeah, Jackie.
She's Melanie Linsky's best friend. What happened to her? And then...
Well, that's another thing about the show. There are so many moments where you're like, hey, is this character alive? Like, what's going on? And don't some characters make references to him, but sometimes you're not sure. Which, again, I think they're obviously doing that on purpose. I think they're going to bring some... I think some characters will pop up in season 2.
I think so too. I don't think it was just like 4 of them got, rescued. I think there's got to be like 5, 6, 7, 8 people showing up. There's got to be more to it.
Or maybe they'll even do like a flashback to like 2010 or something. Maybe like characters died like after they got back and then died like 10 years later or something. Because obviously there are a few characters that die in 2021. But yeah, no, like, yeah, Jackie's a unique character, and I was destroyed by that final scene because
that's what you were saying when you texted me.
Because I mean, the build up to that scene is really intense. There's like a huge argument that happens between her and her friend, and it's in front of everybody, and then she decides to sleep outside, and it's sad because it's like it's a death like it's so avoidable, like that could have been avoided, so it makes it even more sad, and I don't know, it's just sad seeing a body cover, all wrapped up in the snow, like it's just sad, man, just freaking sad.
The only problem I have with the show, besides the mystery element, is it's gonna be one of those smart shows that lasts like 3 to 4 seasons and cuts it. It's it's gonna be one of those shows. It's like, let's not ruin this. We have something good, and it's just gonna like Ted Lasso has one more season. I know. Ted Lasso has one more season. That's more around Jason Sudeikis' scheduling. Leftovers was 3 quick seasons, perfect seasons.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I prefer that, obviously. Like it seems like Yellow Jackets, you could make it like a 7-8 season show, but I think it'd be great if it were just 3 or 4 seasons. But who knows? Who knows what they got up their sleeve? And so Ted Lasso it's gonna be 3 seasons and done.
3 seasons. It's a scheduling conflict.
Yeah, I mean, but that also seems to make sense. I haven't even started season 2 yet, but that seems to make sense for that kind of show.
Yeah, it's just, I love it. I want a movie. I want spin-offs. I'd watch everything from
That'd be great if they did, 3 seasons in a movie or something. That'd be cool. And to me, like, Ted Lasso is so great too because it reminds me, in a lot of ways, it reminds me a lot of Community. Because it has that super fast, super like nice, like, well written jokes and dialogue.
Very witty.
Very witty, yeah. And also it's about, characters being put into a unique position, that maybe they'd never expected before. In this case, Ted Lasso being a football coach, now being a soccer coach, or football, as they call it in the UK. But yeah, it's super funny. Like, and also, I love when shows are able to really balance these dramatic elements with comedy, and it never feels out of place or forced. It makes sense to what the characters are going through, And yeah, like I love every character in the show. Juno Temple's amazing in it. I'm forgetting her name, but she's like the Ted Lasso's boss.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, she's fantastic. Roy, you know, a lot of the players, Jamie,
and
all super great characters.
Roy was a writer for the show. I think we talked about it in the podcast, but he's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He was a writer for the show and was writing for it, I think in America. Got on a plane, flew back to England, and like on the plane sent an audition tape to the other writers and was like, I see myself as Roy. If you don't see it, it's fine. We never have to talk again. But I would like to audition for Roy, and I just can't imagine anybody else playing him. I mean, he's such a complex and amazing character, and his relationship with Jamie. And I mean, it's Bill Lawrence. I mean, Scrubs is my favorite show of all time because, you know, nothing like that can make you go from laughing to crying that quickly. I mean, the soundtrack, the score, the tonal changes. I mean, that's Ted Lasso in a nutshell. I mean, the whole first season is pretty funny and all of that, and I won't say much, but second season gets a lot more serious and dives into a lot more stuff, and it's just I would call it a dramedy. I would just call it a very good dramedy show, and that's
I agree.
I mean the wait till you get to like the finale of the third season. It's
or second season, right?
Second, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I'm super excited to watch it because I rushed through the season 1. It was very easy once I got going with it. And one thing I gotta say too about Roy, like that dude, I don't know. He needs to play like a fucking like he needs to be like a Bond villain or something. He just has such an intense face. Like his eyebrows, like he just looks mean. I don't know. Like he just looks like he could be like a Bond villain or something.
I've been taking notes because I want to write a short soon. I've been taking notes about what actors I think look alike and could play siblings. Like who is it? Katie Siegel and who's the woman from Mom? Anna Faris and
Allison Janney, right?
Allison Janney, yep. I want her and Katie Siegel to play sisters, which I think they've done before, but I'm just thinking now I'd like to see the character who plays Roy Kent play Sacha Baron Cohen's brother in something. I think that I don't know if they exactly look a ton of like, but I just think that they could do the same mannerisms. They could really like keep up with one another and play the same kind of character in something. I think
I could definitely see. I could see Sasha being his older brother or something, and they both got the eyebrows. So
yeah, there could be something fun in that. Well, what else? I'm happy. I've been waiting for you to catch up on these shows.
I know you finally got me onto all of it. So Yellow Jackets, Ted Lasso. I've actually been watching so many TV shows. God, like still going through Breaking Bad. Almost done with that with my roommate. That's obviously this is like the 5th time I've watched Breaking Bad. But what else have I watched? Another show, Netflix show with Kristen Bell. I always forget the lady in the house across from the girl in the window, whatever. It's actually really great. I'm like halfway through season 1. And it's nice because it's not like a direct parody of these kind of movies, but it does feel like satirical of these kind of like cheesy like thriller movies. And it's super funny and not in like I said, not in like a direct way where it's just like parodying scenes. It's a little smarter than that, and it almost plays out like Rear Window or Disturbia, where Kristen Bell like is at home. She's kind of grieving the loss of her daughter, and then she sees a murder in the neighbor's window, and nobody believes her, and there's this whole like ploy that she's trying to uncover. So it's kind of like a murder mystery, and like I said, it has ties to Rear Window and Disturbia. It's really, really cool. It's very fun. I'm excited to see what happens with it.
In between Rear Window and Disturbia, there was a kids show that was a kids movie called Clubhouse Detectives. Okay. I used to watch it all the time growing up, and it was about kids who witnessed their neighbor murder somebody. And it was like a PG rated movie, but it was like an action adventure kids movie. And oh man,
that's cool. I don't think I remember that.
I used to love that. Clubhouse Detectives. You got to check it out. Super good. Cool. Didn't they just drop a trailer for Better Call Saul new season?
I don't know. Did they? I know they announced some stuff recently. They probably did. I didn't see it yet though, because I haven't even finished season 5 of that show yet.
I think I saw 2 seasons maybe.
Okay, it's really great. I'm excited. I'm gonna rewatch it with my roommate once we finish Breaking Bad, but I love it. It's in many ways I think it's just as good as Breaking Bad.
It's like so different, but so good.
Yeah, it is different for sure in a lot of ways. It's definitely not. It's just not Breaking Bad 2.0 or whatever. But I mean, there's obviously a lot of similarities. Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan, a lot of the same creators are on it, which is great, and the quality is fantastic. And and Bob Odenkirk, man, he's the best. He's a great actor. It's cool too, like hearing him in interviews and hearing people talk about him, how very seriously he takes everything. He takes his roles very seriously, and it shows. I was talking about Nobody, the action movie he was in last year, and same thing. It's crazy that he can go from a sleazy lawyer and go and be a badass action star and completely sell it, which I think is so cool. All the props to that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just went back and rewatched Mr. Show on Netflix.
Oh,
recently,
so good.
I never watched the originals, which I need to go back to. I just watched the new one.
Just what was the new one called? It was like, or with Bob and David.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that. And then there also him and I guess a little bit of news here. Him and David Cross are signed on, I think, to do a show. I forget for what. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be related to Mr. Show, but they're doing some kind of comedy show, and I don't remember what it's gonna be on. It might be Apple, honestly.
Interesting.
But super excited for that because those guys work very well together, obviously, and yeah, super excited. But yeah, what about you? Movies, shows, what have you been watching? What have you been up to?
So I recently went back and I rewatched with a friend I See You, which is one of my favorite horror movies the last few years.
Yeah, you mentioned that one to me.
Yeah, super crazy. I definitely want to do an episode on it. It's so original and innovative. Stars Helen Hunt. It's really good. Been binge watching Psych, of course. Been watching a lot of that. Very funny show. Great cast in the later seasons and brings in a lot of big names. Jane Lynch, a bunch of other people. Jimmy, what's his name? Jimmy Simpson.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in a decent amount. A lot of the Breakfast Club actors are in it as well. So the creator must have liked something about I mean, of course, the movie's great, but what else? Abbott Elementary, very funny kind of office style interview show about a inner city elementary school in South Philly. Very, very funny. American Auto, that's the new show by the guy who did Superstore and I think The Office. Anna Gasteyer plays a CEO of a pharma company who gets hired to run a car and an auto company and has no idea what she's doing. Super funny, very just edgy, I'd say, and just very, very, very funny. What else? Bachelor, of course, Bachelor on Mondays. So much drama. I don't know why I'm loving the season so much. So much drama. What else? I'm starting to catch up on 911, Lone Star. I really like the 911 show.
Yeah.
With Peter Cross and yeah, that's really good. The new 911 Lone Star is a spin-off, takes place in Texas with Rob Lowe. Really enjoying that. Binging Will and Grace while I'm working in the background. Trying to think of what else. There's some new movies out that I really need to see. Still need to see the new Resident Evil. That's pretty high up on the list. Gonna go see Jackass on Sunday. Like to see the Moonshot movie at some point.
Oh yeah, Moonfall. Yeah, I feel like disaster movies. You'll probably get a kick out of it. Like I said, it's ridiculous, but it's fun, and that's cool. Yeah, I feel like every episode you just watch so much TV. There's always a new show. I feel like you were mentioning some older ones you've watched, but then you always mention some new ones, which I
watch every current television show unless it's a show that takes place in Chicago. I'm probably watching it.
That's great.
Yeah, I watch all of that, and I really don't. Yeah, I mean, I watch Hulu to watch shows that were on the day before, but I don't really watch a lot of like original shows. I would like to start Servant soon on Apple.
Oh yeah. I kind of want to check out. Is it C? It's just called C with
Yeah.
I don't know much about it.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, Jason Momoa and David Bautista. It already has 3 seasons, which is crazy. I've heard like nothing about it though.
Definitely not my style. The first trailer I saw was kind of cool, and then I was like, eh. Like, it's like Game of Thrones meets Vikings, which are 2 shows I have no interest in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The new Lord of the Rings show. I haven't even seen the trailer, but come on.
All right, Mike, we get it. You hate fantasy and shit.
Yeah, I hate space opera. I hate fantasy.
I don't know. I used to kind of not veer. I used to not watch stuff like Lord of the Rings, but No, I've definitely changed now because I love Lord of the Rings. And Game of Thrones, I mean, is pretty fantastic. At least the first 4 seasons, it kind of loses quality a little bit after that. But overall, great show.
My dog is chiming in to say hello for anybody
Oh,
watching.
little Jaeger.
Yep. Hi, Jaeger. You say hi.
Pugs look so funny when you just see like their chin, like under their chin.
My favorite thing about pugs is, and I guess nobody's gonna believe this until they like see it and it clicks. The funny thing about pugs is the older they get, the more they look like spiders. You know those like African spiders that are like where you could like see their eyes and they're like gray and hairy.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like if you
I guess I've never thought about that.
If you Google like old pug, he's only 12, but if you Google old pug and you just look at them, you're just like, yep, this is 100% what those spiders look like. I also wanted to show off my shirt. Best Christmas present I got this last year. It is from. You haven't seen this show, have you? Are we doing the Shadows?
No, not yet. I love the movie too. I gotta see it.
Yeah, Nandor, Laszlo, Nadia, and Colin, and not you, Guillermo. It's just you'll get the joke when you watch the show.
All right, another one I gotta add to the list.
Yeah, no, I've been watching just everything, but let's talk about what are you excited for? What I know a bunch of new trailers are dropping and blockbuster things are getting announced. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I've been slacking this week on watching new trailers. I know Nope. I think there's like a teaser for Nope, the Jordan Peele movie.
Very short teaser. It's 3 people looking up into the sky, which somewhat helps. It takes place in a very small town. Looks like a carnival. I've been having a fun time recently guessing what things are. You know, we talked about the new movie by the guy from Midsummer and how it's, you know, a 4-hour movie about a famous inventor. And I'm like really trying to guess who it's going to be about because I don't think it's going to be fictional, or like the person won't be fictional. I'm wondering the same about Nope. I mean, is it aliens? What is it? I have no idea. I just cannot wait. The cast is fantastic. I know the setting is going to be beautiful. It comes out soon, doesn't it? The summer.
I think so. Yeah. And also, I gotta ask too because I think it comes out in March. But are you excited for the Adam Project? Ryan Reynolds, new Ryan Reynolds movie. Sean Levy, same director as Free Guy.
Really? I saw the YouTube thumbnail. What's it about? I don't know too much about it.
All I know is that like he's a time traveler and he meets up with his younger self, and they try to save the future or something. That's all I know. I haven't seen the trailer or anything, but it sounds kind of cool. And I mean, Sean Levy, I guess I like him enough. And Free Guy was pretty cool. That was a really cool movie.
Yeah, I know. It was like the Ryan Reynolds' favorite movie he's ever done. He said, "I want to do more video game movies." That's cool. They've already teamed up again. I wonder how far apart those two were made.
Yeah, I mean, in the prior episode, I kind of mentioned a bunch of movies. Or I was excited for. I mean, this is definitely shaping up to be a really cool year. There's a lot of big tentpole movies. Like there's like the Batman. There's the new Doctor Strange movie. There's Halloween Ends. There's the new John Wick 4.
That's this year.
I think that's this year. Yeah. I mean, apparently Avatar 2, I guess.
I know, right?
I always say, because it's been so long, but I mean, apparently it's slated to come out this year.
I'll be the first person to buy tickets. I'm telling you.
New Jurassic Park. That is also.
Did you see the trailer?
Jurassic World Dominion. No, I didn't. I've seen the still of Sam Neill and everybody.
I posted on their social.
I'm gonna watch it. Honestly, I've only seen the first Jurassic World, but I really just didn't like it that much. I was super underwhelmed by it. Maybe I'll watch it again. Maybe because there's not counting Dominion, the ones coming out. There's 2 or 3 of them now.
This is the third and final of this.
Okay, so this wraps up this new trilogy. All right, so I'll have to watch the other one, but I was just super underwhelmed by it, and
I don't care much for the dinosaur in this new one because everyone has a new antagonist dinosaur they created out of nothing. It didn't look that cool from the trailer, but this is very much Trevor Morrow,
I think.
Huh?
Trevor Rowe, like row your boat gently down the stream.
Is it Colin Trevorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I was like, Trevor Morrow? Colin Trevorrow. He said that this is the Jurassic Park movie he's been waiting to make the whole time. This is equivalent to the second one in the original trilogy. So this is dinosaurs on the mainland just like taking over everything. Which
that could be really cool because the only other if I'm not mistaken, the only other Jurassic Park related movie that has that is the Lost World, the second one directed by Steven Spielberg, where at the end of the movie the T-Rex kind of like runs around the little city, kind of it's kind of reminiscent of like Godzilla. It was almost like a little ode to Godzilla, and
That's the one with the burbs, right? There's like the dog barking outside and all that, and it's like in the
yeah,
suburbs, right? Yeah.
yeah,
This
yep.
this is what this one is. I mean, the original trailer was a kid at the drive-in movie theaters, and a T-Rex comes in. The trailer's action-packed, man. It's just like
I'll check it out because
yeah.
that to me, honestly, thinking about it now, that idea, I think. I can't claim it to be mine. I think every kid who watched Jurassic Park growing up had this like, what if Jurassic Park, but all the dinosaurs were like in a city or something? Like that's always been like a cool thought. So yeah, I'm all for it.
It is also funny because what's I gonna say? I can't remember. Dinosaurs in the City. Sounds like a good cartoon show in the 90s.
Dinosaurs in the City. Or remember We're Back? Remember that movie?
Mm-mm.
It was like an animated dinosaur movie from like mid 90s or something, but it's a bunch of like giant talking dinosaurs and like that's all I remember from it. But yeah,
I
remember the poster.
In college, I named Petrie after Name Before Time.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I guess stuff coming out soon that looks pretty cool. I know that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes out, which apparently is a direct sequel to the original, which I love. The original's so fucking good. And then
the reviews of it are I agree with the reviews, and that's something I also didn't come up with, but the reviews talk about how it's just like every horror sequel is now just playing off of the same thing that Halloween is this new Texas Chainsaw is like the one survivor from the first one is coming back now with all of the guns and is like this time it's done.
Yeah, she's like over. She's like like just feminine badass, which I guess is kind of cool, but at the same time now maybe it's almost becoming like a shtick, like it's almost becoming too obvious.
Man or woman, whoever it is, if you're having like the one lone survivor 30 years later come back to like, and it's like, and well, it's gonna end like the Halloween movies. She's gonna kill him, and then the very last scene before the credits, he's gonna like open an eye, and you're like, well,
he's gonna be in a slew of new like somehow indestructible like violent killers.
Netflix will make 12 more of these now. Yep.
Yeah, I mean I'm interested enough just because I love the original so much, and I don't know if they can bring back some of that rawness from the original, and I'm all for it. I mean, I'll have fun with it. And then what else is coming out pretty soon? I know
the Lightyear trailer came out, the new one. I haven't seen it yet.
For what?
Lightyear.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the new one either, but I'm very excited for that.
What else? I'm trying to think of things that I've shared recently. I know Super Bowl Sunday is definitely going to probably be. I want an Avatar trailer.
Oh, actually, another one. Ambulance, new Michael Bay movie.
Yeah,
it looks really
Jake
cool.
Gyllenhaal?
Actually, what's that?
No, who's in that one?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, okay.
And what's his name? Yahya from like Matrix and Candyman. Yahya Abdul Mateen. He looks really good in it too.
It looks great. I'm excited for it. You still have to watch his movie he made last year, Jake Gyllenhaal. The one that we talked about. It made my top list. I can't remember the name. It was the one that took place in the police dispatcher office.
Oh yeah, what was that? I'm forgetting.
The Warning or something like that.
It was from 2020 or 2021.
2021, I think. Yeah. It was filmed in like 12 days in the pandemic with a very limited cast and crew.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just a lot of cool looking projects coming out this year for sure. And I mentioned in prior episodes, there's The Northman, Robert Eggers, that looks really great. New Ari Aster movie.
That's this year too, definitely.
Yeah, Disappointment Boulevard, and apparently a new Alexander Payne movie, The Holdovers, and
who's the guy who made Ex Machina?
Oh, Alex Garland, I think. Yeah,
a trailer just came out for his new movie.
Oh, too. For Men. Yeah, I also haven't watched. Like I said, I've been slacking this past week. I don't know anything about it, but obviously very excited because I really liked Ex Machina, and I also really liked his follow up. I'm forgetting the name of it with Natalie Portman.
I liked it even more than Ex Machina.
I did too, actually. And
it's one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. Annihilation.
It's so. Honestly, I need to see it again. It's literally. I think I only saw it once, but I really dug it. It
terrifying.
Was super weird, super terrifying.
Yeah, there's 3 books, and I guess they're all very, very different. So I don't know if they're gonna make sequels to it, but the end of the movie sets it up for sequels.
Have you ever seen
Yeah.
I think it's called Dev or Devs? That was like I think it was like an FX show made by Garland like a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's got Ron Swanson in it. Nick
Oh, nice.
Offerman. Yeah, I have not, but yeah, it's got a good cast. Well, before we dive into our movie here that we're talking about, which
Right on
was
time too. I think we're at like 49 minutes or something like that.
which was nominated for a couple Oscars. Let's just talk about the Oscars that came out. So, Oscar nominations. So, Best Picture, we have Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, West Side Story. Best Actor, Javier Bardem, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, Will Smith, Denzel Washington. Best Actress, Jessica Chastain, Olivia Colman, Penelope Cruz, Nicole Kidman, Kristen Stewart. Best Director, Belfast, Drive My Car, Licorice Pizza, Power of the Dog, West Side Story. Those are the big ones. I know for me, Oscars are my Super Bowl. Tom's been in this the last few years. We'll be doing a very high stakes $5 entry for a Oscars bracket, which I won last year, taking away like $35. So it was big money.
Hell yeah, it's just swimming in the money.
Big risks.
Yeah, no, I mean, what do you think overall though? Because I told you earlier today, I was like, it's kind of a lot of it to me was as expected. There was some weird stuff though that I didn't expect. Like I told you, I was very much expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting a Lady Gaga nomination for House of Gucci, and but no, she didn't get it. She didn't get that. Although I actually do really like the picks for the most part, like Kristen Stewart as, second favorite movie of 2021 for Spencer. I like that a lot. Nicole Kidman for being the Ricardos. That one was also very expected. But Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter. I didn't love that movie, but she was very good in it. So it's cool to see her. And I love Olivia Colman. I feel like she's almost becoming like a Academy darling now. She's been nominated a lot since in the past few years.
A Dame Judi Dench, a Helen Mirren.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no interest in watching any of these movies. I've seen one movie on the list, and it's Don't Look Up. I went through the whole list. Like, have I? Oh, I've seen Kanto, but I went through the list. Like, have I seen a random movie for best song, best score? I was like, I've seen nothing, and it's freaking space operas, biopics, and indie movies where 2 people talk for 2 hours. It's just like.
But I mean, as usual though, like there's a lot of indie movies that came out last year that you would almost expect to be here that aren't. And
Last Night in Soho got nothing. It didn't get best set design, best costume design, best soundtrack. I mean, give it something, man, something. You know how often friggin' Star Wars gets nominated for best.
I think that movie definitely could have gotten like film editing. Potentially score, even like you're saying makeup, like more technical stuff too, like production design, like all that stuff. Absolutely.
It's a pandemic, and most of the Oscar movies are streaming for free on Apple, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. So I'm gonna watch a lot of them by May 22nd, but I'm not gonna be happy about any of them. They're just like, I was like, oh, what's this movie about? Oh, 2 people on a farm talking. Oh, what's this movie about? 2 people on a boat talking. What's this movie about? Hey, remember that person you didn't care that much about in history? There's this actor's gonna play them. Like, okay.
Well, what do you talk? Well, what specifically is like that?
King Richard.
Yeah, King Richard. That one. I'm kind of interested, but it does seem like a very like obvious bio that the Oscars would eat up. Same with Belfast. Belfast looks so just like sentimental and I don't know. I'll probably watch all these too. I mean, it's cool. It's cool seeing Don't Look Up on there. It's cool. Really great seeing Licorice Pizza.
That's another one where I'm like, I had a big interest in it because I love Haim, the band, but once I like learn what the movie's about and all of that, and once every time I talked to somebody who saw it, I was like, was it 2.5 hours of people talking? And people were like, yeah, there was no direction to the movie, and I was like, okay, I'm good.
No, that's false. It's not just talking. Also, I mean, okay, now I'm getting more into like just the idea behind movies in general, but like it's more, in my opinion, it's more about, it's not so much about the content as it is about technique. So like you could just say like, oh, like the movie, it's mainly about two people talking, but like it's depending on who made the movie, you can make a conversation incredibly entertaining. There's an infinite amount of ways you can film and showcase a conversation. But no, Licorice Pizza is a good one. And Dune as well, and Drive My Car, which I haven't seen yet.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's Hamaguchi. That's the director. What's that?
Bless you.
Oh yeah, Hamaguchi. Yeah, yeah, Ryusuke Hamaguchi, who I've only seen one of his movies called Asako 1 and 2, which was crazy, like really, really fantastic movie about. It's pretty much about a girl who dates. She has a fling with a guy, and then years later, she thinks she sees the same guy, but it's a different guy. It's like his. Doppelganger. Really, really unique movie. So I'm kind of excited to see it, and it's been getting a lot of praise, obviously. So, and then what else? Coda. I don't know much about Coda, but I'll probably.
I do want to see that just because I went to college on the North Shore, and yeah, it's filmed all in Gloucester, where a lot of your seafood comes from. Anybody's seafood.
Oh yeah, and yeah, licorice. Oh, not licorice pizza. Nightmare Alley, which originally I didn't really have much interest in, but I don't know. I've heard some cool things about it, and Gilmore is obviously is a great director.
I thought it was one thing, and I thought it was kind of interesting, and then I learned what it was really about, and I read the whole movie, and I was like, I'm just like, Ridley Scott, go back to Aliens. Who made this movie we're talking about right
now? Guillermo del Toro for
Guillermo
Nightmare
del Toro. Freaking make your Haunted Mansion movie I've been waiting for, and make your Pinocchio movie. Like, I've been waiting so long, and there's a teaser on Netflix, great, but like, stop making these. It's just this is what I hate about this is what I hate about being a hipster. That's why I said Yellow Jacket is gonna last for 2 seasons, because everybody likes it so much they're gonna be like, oh, you like us too much, we're done. My favorite musician, Bon Iver, he makes a couple big albums and then just disappears for 10 years.
Right.
Childish Gambino, you love all of his music. He's like, I'm done with that. I'm gonna make different genre music now. And you're like, but I liked your old stuff. Like,
yeah, but you can't just be attached to. Come on, people change. Like
Ridley Scott. I know your last Prometheus movie was the biggest flop of any sci-fi movie ever friggin' made, but make some more sci-fi movies. Stop making
Prometheus. Was it really that big of a flop?
I don't know financially. I'm talking, or was it Alien Revenant, which should have been called Prometheus too?
Yeah, but although Alien Revenant was more like that was like more about Alien, like
that
about
was the one with Michael Fassbender playing flute to himself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
I like Covenant quite a bit actually. And Prometheus was one that I remember I was so excited for. I was super hyped when that movie came out, and I was very underwhelmed by it. But I've watched it in recent years, and I mean, it's cool. It's honestly it's a very ambitious, large scale sci-fi movie. It still has I have a lot of issues with it, but I mean, it's cool.
The opening scene where you find out how man was created.
Oh,
that to me is just like still blows my mind.
Yeah, the intro in that movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
But anything else about the Oscars before we move on?
Well, speaking of the Oscars, in 2016, there's a little movie called Hell or High Water. 2015.
16. I thought it was 15, but I think it's 2016.
16. Called Hell or High Water. Let's get into it. And yeah. So Tom pitched this movie, and I was like, yeah, I'd go back and revisit that. I remember liking it. It was free on Netflix if you haven't seen it. Nice little hour and 42-minute movie. Which
I knew you love that. See that runtime, and you're like, finally.
I was like, oh, I can make this easy.
Yeah, no, I've had this movie in mind for a while. Like, I've just always thought it'd be a good episode to do, and no better time like the present to do it. And yeah, so we had both seen this already before, but in both cases, I think it has been quite a while. I think I literally saw it once in theaters, and then just watching it recently for the podcast was my second viewing. But
it's a beautiful shot. Like the
cinematography
and the setting is just like, oh my god.
Well,
I want to go visit where it was filmed. Also, I don't, because it looks terrible there. But
well, I mean, you've mentioned in other episodes, you're like, how important it is that the setting is a character in and of itself. And this is I feel like this is like a prime example of that, where this kind of like barren Texas land is very. It speaks volumes to the characters and like what they're going through and their past. But essentially, This movie, directed by Dave Mackenzie, is about two brothers played by Chris Pine and Ben Foster, and they're trying to save their family ranch because the banks basically own it at that point. So what do? They rob the banks, and they basically have a plan where I think it's over the course of a week they're going to just continually rob a different series of banks in order to get enough money to buy back the ranch. But at the same time, there are two Texas Rangers played by Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham who are kind of hot on their tail and trying to catch them in the act of robbing the bank. And there's a lot more that happens in this movie, but that's kind of the general gist of it. But I told you before we saw this how much more I picked up on a second time, how much more political this movie was on a second viewing, and just I really feel like this. I'm actually surprised, but I'm glad how much this stands out in today's just world in general, because this movie, just the very idea of them getting their family ranch taken back, and now they're kind of pulling a Robin Hood in a sense and robbing the banks, robbing the rich, and getting back their money. But there's also a lot of other stuff going on about, like, I know in the beginning of the movie you see all over town that you're seeing like debt collector signs and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of drilling into you the fact that the town they're in is just like from a bygone era. No one's really thriving. Everyone's just kind of holding on, you know. But what do you think?
I mean, yeah, from the opening scene of the movie, it's so political. The opening scene of the movie, the first shot is spray. You see a woman get out of a car, and when she walks by this building, the spray paint says like 3 tours in Iraq, and you gave me nothing for it.
Oh,
And
yeah, yep.
you're just like, oh wow, this movie is extremely political. And yeah, I mean, I feel that our country does not do a lot for veterans or a lot for anybody who's in the middle and lower class. If you're not running the bank and you don't have, if your last name is not on the name of the bank, then you're probably getting taken advantage of and not getting a lot of stuff. And a lot of people do a lot for the country and get nothing out of it. So I thought that was super interesting. And Ben Foster is a veteran in this movie.
Yes.
And he is obviously seen a lot. I guess I'll kind of jump into it. There's a lot of juxtapositions between the brothers and the two cops chasing them. I like that a lot. I mean, Jeff Bridges and Ben Foster both have a lot of one-liners. They both kind of make fun of the people they're with. It's like I don't think it was too edgy, but Jeff Bridges makes a lot of kind of jokes about his partner's background and all of that.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of a little bit of prejudice for sure, but obviously like that is kind of a part of the character. Like he's very very old school, and he's kind of picking on his Native American ranger, his sidekick. And
but when he loses his partner, I mean, that scene is it's violent, it's quick, and he
it's so
never gets over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the motives and the drive in this movie are so interesting. I mean, Chris Pine is doing this so he can leave his ex-wife and kids that he's kind of separated himself from. He's he wants to leave them with money. He wants to make sure they're never poor, like him and Ben Foster and their parents and their parents and their parents were. And then Ben Foster is just doing this because he fucking loves violence and he loves to destroy shit. I mean, he clearly lost his mind, serving. If he didn't already go over there with a mind that was lost. And I think the movie doesn't touch upon that enough, the kind of PTSD and kind of just like, he's extremely mentally unstable and nobody's told him this. Like,
yeah, that's you're right. That there's like you said, there's an interesting dichotomy where like Chris Pine is very procedural about it. He's like, all right, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna be done. And you're right, Ben's kind of just like, no, like he's having fun with it almost. Like he's having too much fun with it.
I mean, Ben Foster, when he kills the first person, in the bank, and like Chris Pine. I mean, I could imagine if there was an extra scene in this, I could imagine Ben Foster grabbing Chris Pine's gun and going to shoot it, and nothing comes out of it. I could imagine Chris Pine's character being like, "Yeah, I don't have a loaded gun. Like, I'm not here to kill anybody. This is just all just to take the money." I love the scene when they're in the casino and he says to Ben Foster, I wrote down some of my favorite one-liners. He says, how the fuck have you managed to stay out of prison for a year? And Ben Foster just says, it's been difficult. Like, that whole scene in the casino.
Yeah.
It's just super interesting, and they're just such different characters. And I mean, Ben Foster, he's from Boston. I think he got into acting because he was kind of shy, and somebody told him to like go join improv or take acting classes. And I mean, he is in my top 3 favorite actors of all time. He just plays psychopath very, very well, no matter what he's in. I mean,
Yes, he does.
Alpha Dog is like hard to watch him in that movie. He's just really freaking good, and he's always been an actor who stays out of the spotlight, and is just like a very normal dude. And I don't know how the hell he gets into character for his movies, but he never plays a normal person. He's just always a very disturbed character. It must be scary working with him because
I
he's just
know.
like,
He has those eyes, like
yeah.
those crazy piercing eyes, and he's totally just self-destructive in this movie. You know, he's so good. Really, everyone is like so great in this movie. Even I feel like Chris Pine, like he's almost like unrecognizable in a lot of ways. Like there were times I'm like, oh yeah, this is Chris Pine. Like I don't know, I feel like a lot of Chris Pine roles, or at least his general aura and his look, he's a little more clean cut. He has like the nice slicked back hair and everything. But this movie, he's obviously way more rugged, and he's a Texan. And but I don't know, his like his desire to save the family ranch is like kind of like the, I guess, a bigger emotional core of the movie. But you know, it works, I think, because like I said, just because how good these actors are, and because you really throughout the whole movie you really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's they're flying by the seat of their pants, and you know, like obviously the Jeff Bridges and Gil are on their tail, you know, about to catch him. So like you really don't know like if they're going to get away with this for a good portion of the movie.
There was a lot that I loved in the first half of the movie. I mean, they go to rob the bank when it first opens. Super smart. You've never seen that before. Like that's the best time to
Yeah.
probably rob a bank. You know, Ben Foster gets called stupid, and he just says, "Tell me I'm stupid again," and like points the gun at them. And that right there is like show don't tell for the whole entire character of him. Is that he's probably been put down his whole life. Was probably always told he was a nobody, and now is taking charge of things. So I thought that was like a super quick, like I know everything about this character in this one line, in this one scene. I thought that was super powerful. I love the part where he says, "You got a gun on you," and he goes to take the gun from somebody because everybody's armed in Texas. He takes the gun from somebody and then gives it back to them as they're leaving. He's like, I don't need my gun. I just don't want you to use it in defense. I think also one of the most interesting parts of the movie that you had mentioned when we talked earlier, it's such a relevant movie and probably always will be relevant, is like half the people that are there when the banks are getting robbed are like trying to stop them and do their, you know, citizens arrest.
Yep.
And the other half are just cheering them on. Like you said, that Robin Hood mentality, like they're just ripping off banks with their own money. They're taking their own money back that they lost to these banks, and everybody is, you know, half the people are just cheering them on. I mean, Katie Mixon's character, she's one of my favorites. She started out
yes.
Mike and Molly.
Glad you brought her up.
Down, and then I love American Housewife, the sitcom. Gotta watch American Housewife. It's her first like big starring role. She had such a small role in this, but I even love that like, you know, nobody ratted out Chris Pine or Ben Foster. They all knew their faces, and they were all just like, yeah, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to tell you anything about these people who came in here. You know, she tries to keep the money that she knows is stolen, and like, I love that. I just love how.
Oh yeah, that great scene when she's being interviewed after the robbery, or you know, because well, not the robbery, because in this case, the you know Chris Pine and Ben had eaten in the diner. You're right, and left her that $200 tip, and then Jeff Bridges wants to take it as evidence. You know, and she has that whole little monologue almost where she's explaining like, oh, like you're really gonna use your authority to take a tip from a waitress, you know, that is barely surviving, and like she owns that scene completely. I love it, and she walks away from him, just leaves him kind of in the dust, and yeah, she's great. I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad you brought her up because I've really only seen her in Eastbound and Down, but she's really great in that show, and
very funny on Mike and Molly.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she plays the sister. Very funny, very crazy. But American Housewife, it's where does it take place? It takes place in Connecticut. It's her and Diedrich Bacher. I'm sorry, but Diedrich Bacher has been needing to star in something for like
Oh
30
man,
fucking years.
he's great.
Napoleon Dynamite, Drew Carey show. I mean, every Balls of Fury. He's always like
Office
the very
Space,
funny
obviously.
cameo. Office Space, Peterman. But it's him and her. They moved to Connecticut, and she is the like fat and that's what's also crazy about it. She plays the like fat poor woman in where are they? They're in a very wealthy town in Connecticut, and he is an author. I think he like writes other. He's like a ghostwriter, and she is a mom to 3 kids who are all wildly different children, and it just follows them in Connecticut, where like every single person around her is a what was that show or movie where everybody in town is prissy and the exact same? Stepford Wives.
Oh yeah.
So she's in a town of all of these women who are size 0 and drinking their, green shakes every day, and she just kind of shakes up the town. It is super funny. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
And
Is that streaming anywhere right now?
it was on ABC, so probably Hulu, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
I've watched it back a couple times. But yeah, so I definitely recommend that. And yeah, there was so much that could have been done in this movie. She offers him a job as a cook at this little diner, and you can like tell he's almost thinking about it because he, wants to do right. He wants to, provide for his family, but he also wants to do right. And I thought that was a really cool scene, and I feel like there must have been more filmed with her and.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that. And yeah, I mean, it's cool though just to have these kind of smaller characters played by these really notable actors too, because there's also, and I got to mention it. There's like 3 actors in this movie from that have had some roles in Breaking Bad. I know there's another. I think the same diner she works at. There's a waitress who also played a waitress in the later seasons of Breaking Bad. There's the actor Dale Dickey. She's in that great episode. She's in one of the best episodes of Breaking Bad. The one where the ATM episode where Jesse goes to steal back money and
I knew I recognized her. That was one of my favorite episodes of.
So good, yeah. And then there's another guy.
That was the start of that show for me.
I kind of agree. Yeah, that's when shit got real, and it has one of those like the saddest endings too. Like, or it's like. It's kind of hopeful, but it's also very sad. Just having the kid, wait on the front steps while the police, you hear him in the distance showing up. But yeah, no. And then there's what's this guy's name here? Kevin Rankin, who's also in the later season of he's in like the final season of Breaking Bad, but he pops up as like a. He's like I think he might be like an accountant or something. He's just has like a small little scene in the movie, but I think that goes to show because this was filmed, even though it takes place in West Texas, it was mainly filmed. I think it was completely filmed in eastern New Mexico.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so that kind of makes sense why you have all these Breaking Bad little actors, and
I love that when it's like town actors who are like in huge shows and movies just because they like live in the area and do theater.
Yeah, and they've just been in enough stuff that they're going to be in all this stuff, and again, like that adds more personality to the movie. Again, this movie feels super lived in. The town, like I said, that's my favorite thing. Before the movie or before doing this, we talked a little bit about how this movie kind of falls into the category of neo-Western, and I guess the best way to describe that would be a movie that has sort of qualities of older Westerns, but it very much takes place in a modern setting and maybe kind of challenges these ideas. And the writer of this movie, Taylor Sheridan, that's kind of like mainly what he writes. Sicario is kind of like a neo-Western, and I haven't seen it yet, but I think he also directed and wrote Wind River, which apparently also kind of falls into that category. But it's not even just the setting per se that makes it like a Western. It's more or less like, in this case, I think the biggest thing is, as I mentioned earlier, the town they live in, where it's like time's kind of past them. This town already had its peak maybe way back in the day, but now it's kind of decrepit and old. And that's a big theme in Western movies, where you have a hero or you have cowboy that returns home and it's not quite the same, or a cowboy in general who's fading out of time. There's so many movies about cowboys who are becoming outdated and outmoded. And like I said, in this movie, it's the setting really. It's this a place where there's foreclosures everywhere and people just kind of living right on the edge. And It's fascinating. Like I said, this movie, the setting has so much character to it, and like I said, I applaud Taylor and director David Mackenzie for giving so much personality to that, because that it goes a long way.
I love the scene in the bank where the bank teller tries to like give them her jewelry or money, and they just give it back to her, and they're like, "We're stealing from the bank. We're not stealing from you." Like, because
Oh
that's
yeah,
such a typical thing too. Is the bank robbers like, "Give us your wallet, give us your jewelry," and they're just like nice bank robbers, you know. They're or half of them are.
right.
I love the part where he goes in the gas station. He's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "Dr. Pepper, Winston Lights." I'm just like, that needs to be like on a t-shirt or something. And then
Yeah.
he says only assholes drink Dr. Pibb or Mr. Pibb, but the whole scene at the gas station where he beats the shit out of the guy, like that was
Yeah, and
just
I cringe because the scene when he like grabs the main guy and he forces his whole body into the door. Yeah,
and then he
that looked
runs around to the
painful.
passenger side, and that's what I liked about Chris Pine was he runs around the passenger side, and the passenger goes, he had it coming,"
Yeah,
and
yep.
Chris Pine leaves him alone, which once again shows the difference.
Or Ben Foster.
That
Ben
was,
Foster's the one that would beat him up.
no, it was Chris Pine. Because
Oh, you're right. You're right. It was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
Because
never
Ben
mind.
Foster was just watching in the car. If that was Ben Foster, he would have pulled the dude out and beat him to a pulp. But Chris
Yeah,
Pine was just like, "All right, my problem's not with you," and like that also shows who he truly is. Like he'll protect his brother, but he's not gonna go out of his way. You know. I really like
yeah,
that. I
definitely.
love the horse at the gas station. You know, the guy walks out and gets on his horse, and it was just like that was just normal there.
Oh yeah, and also another little thing I liked about it, we see like you said in the first bank robbery where they go early in the morning, like super unique and different, and then their getaway car they have the tools to bury it. They literally bury the getaway cars they use, which is also really cool. Like that's so smart because
it's
obviously
very
no one's gonna find it. So
very Grand Theft Auto with the amount of cars that they were able to switch in and out of the whole entire thing. And
literally,
don't call and report this stolen till over the weekend. And the one-liners. I mean, Jeff Bridges had a lot of one-liners with his partner, but Ben Foster's line to one of the people, he says, "I hope your last day in the nursing home, in your last day in the nursing home, you'll think of me and giggle." And I was just like, wow, that was super interesting. I also love the scene where like the bank robbers are staying in the nice hotel at the casino and the cops are in the shitty motel. Like that was just like the kind of interesting, like showing the background of, all of that.
and that's another thing too. I think that again, falling back to that neo western thing, uh Jeff Bridges' character, because like you mentioned how it's kind of similar to No Country in the sense that he's almost like the Tommy Lee Jones where he's like right on the brink of retirement, but he's doing this last thing he has to do. He has to figure out who's robbing the banks. But there's so many little moments that kind of and his partner Gil, they kind of continually mention like, yo, this is it. Like, you might not even figure this out. Like, you're you're literally in your late 60s, like it's the time is coming, the clock is ticking, there's only so much time you have left to be a Texas Ranger. So he's
That
also he's kind of losing this identity too, like this he's been a ranger for who knows 40-50 years, and now he's finally closing that chapter of his life.
And Ben Foster is just such a psychopath because like nothing phases him. I mean, he when they go into the last bank, the I'm sure that wasn't gonna be the last bank. Was that gonna be the last bank?
I don't know. Maybe
was this that typical you pull me in for one last job? But they're in the last bank, and they wind up just getting shot at by a bunch of people. I think Chris Pine gets shot. Ben Foster kills a few people, and Ben Foster just like gets in the car and he says, "These concealed carry laws sure complicate a bank robbery." And it was just like such a subtle line where they just got shot at a bunch, and that's just like all he has to say. And then I think he says something about like, "Oh man, on payday everybody's at the bank, huh?" And it's just like so subtle and ridiculous. But not, I mean, it's not bad ridiculous. It just shows who he is as a person. And I love when they go their separate ways, and Chris Pine kind of takes his money and is like, I think, I don't know, did he, so they basically say goodbye to each other. Ben Foster's going to his way, Chris Pine's going to his, and he just goes, "Hey Toby, go fuck yourself." And then he goes, "Hey, you fuck yourself too." And like the brotherly love and that like sign off and dynamic was great. Did Chris Pine know where Ben Foster was going, that he was gonna.
I kind of think he did.
Yeah.
Because like, obviously he knows his brother more than anyone else, and
Ben
yeah.
Foster knew he was going to die. Did he want to die?
I kind of think so too. Because I mean, he knew he was gonna have some kind of standoff, and obviously he, being the sole person, he probably knew he wasn't gonna survive that too.
That whole scene with the rifle and all of that, just super violent and just like, I mean, just it was hard to watch. It was nerve wracking. And it was just very, and then Chris Pine just rolls right through it. I mean, that scene was super interesting where he drives right through, you know, and just kind of like sees everything happening up on the hill and keeps driving.
Yep.
Because I thought he was going to come back. I did. I thought he was going to come back and help his brother. Because, you know, part of the movie, Ben Foster calls him little brother, and you realize he's looked out for him. But I think that's when Chris Pine put his ex-wife and kids first. He's like, you know what? I can't go out in a blazing glory like my brother's about to. Like,
yeah,
you know, I still have to make sure the money and everything gets out.
Well, and his kids, you know, because he has kids in the movie, and obviously the point is to get the farm back, but also give that to his kids so his kids have he's secure a future. Which again, you know, like that's kind of the whole thing where we're in this land where there doesn't seem to be a future, but Ben or Chris Pine is so intent on securing this future for his kids. Another thing too, like there's a lot of they mention multiple times different characters mentioning kind of like a Native American past in the land, and I think there's a line when Gil, the Texas Ranger who's with Jeff Bridges, he mentions how it's like, yeah, this was all my land, you know, back in the day, and this was our people's land, and then someone came in and took it, and you know, it will happen to your people too, and like, you know, it's showing how like unfortunately this kind of thing seems cyclical, like it just is gonna happen, like, you know, one day it's your land and then the next day it's not. Someone more powerful comes, takes it over, and you know, there's I don't know, you can feel like there's like a soul to this movie. You can feel like where it's just like underneath, and there's even I think there's a scene with if you remember, there's a scene with Ben Foster and he calls a Native American at a diner like Comanche or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and then
at the casino, he's sitting across from him at the table.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so yeah, he's playing poker or something, and he calls out somebody for, you know, in kind of an ignorant way, and then he kind of stands up and defends himself, and you know, like there is also that too, where like, you know, his character and obviously same with Jeff Bridges, they're very ignorant of that past too, like they're not really aware of like what came before them, and they, you know, there's I don't know, there's like a certain level of power that they have, but they don't understand almost like why they have it in the first place, which is interesting.
I think that's a great point, and I don't think I looked that far into that also juxtaposition of, you know, Washington, whoever came to America, claimed it as their land and just killed off, you know, the Native American and the tribes and all of them and took over their land. And although that is such a violent and fucked up way of doing things, the foreclosure signs and kicking people out of their houses and putting them on the streets and like, you know, doing all of that is just the newer way of taking over land and just the newer way of, you know, doing it. And in 100, 200 years, people are going to talk about how the banks came and did that. And 200 years before that, it was, you know, Washington. And like, yeah, I think that's a super interesting part of this movie is that, and that's the political part of it is, you know, it's very true in America. It's very much, you know, you can't pay rent. We don't care. I mean, look at COVID, we had, you know, the checks for a little while, and the checks.
And, you know, and there was the eviction moratorium, but that obviously was just temporary. And and yeah, that, you know, that's a great point where they even mention that, like how it's the banks now. The banks are the big boss. They're the ones that control and take away what they please. And there's a really sad point to that. I think Gil mentions that one person. Yeah, he's like there's no more armies. It's just banks. Like it's just literally it's all financial, like at this point, which is kind of scary, very scary. And
I think I was just gonna say there was that woman who was just arrested for stealing $3.75 billion in crypto. She's also a rapper. Her and her husband stole that. I would not. I don't know her story. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it was a Robin Hood story. But I think we're going to start to see that more in the digital era, we're going to start to see people robbing banks through, and I mean, it's been happening for, 10 years or whatever, but we're going to start seeing a lot more masterminds robbing the banks, robbing the billionaires, robbing these people, tanking their stocks, AMC. Look at all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all modern day Robin Hood a way of saying fuck you to these people and claiming it back. I mean, back then, these, this made in 2015, but they had to go in with guns and steal money back from the banks. I mean, now it's going to be much easier. It's going to be, hey, I got logged into the back end of the bank and now I'm going to steal all of their, money this way.
Well, especially when it seems like, and we're moving towards a future when all currency is more digital, right? Like it's like in most cases, we get direct deposit and we're looking at numbers on a screen. Like that's all you're doing. You're not even holding. A lot of times you're not even holding your money. You're just looking at it on a screen, and there's something very strange about that for sure. But
yeah, digital Cowboys, great band name.
Digital Cowboys, hell yeah, I like that.
We should start a new podcast where we just talk about the crypto market. I gave up on crypto so quickly.
I'm still invested a little bit, but to me, it's like with anything or stocks, it's long term. Like you can't just in most cases, unless you know what you're doing, you can't really just throw in a couple hundred and expect to make a lot of money. But it's all crazy. Yeah, I agree too. There's so much I don't know about. There's a lot to it for sure.
It's like you're gonna make $1 bajillion in 20 years, or it's gonna be worth nothing. And you're gonna talk. I think I saw something the other day that was, what was it? It was like crypto is just the Beanie Babies of today. And I was like,
yeah, well,
oh my god, that's perfect.
Well, I guess we'll have to see, because that's the one thing that's interesting is like there's two modes of thought, I guess, about it. Where one, yeah, it could just be a fad and it's like Beanie Babies, so it'll be popular now and fade, or it's like the internet back in the early 90s where everyone's like, oh, like, yeah, sure, the internet's going to be a big thing, I guess. And then it literally becomes a big thing. And
the only thing,
part of our lives. I mean, it literally is part of everyone's lives, just like our smartphones and everything. It's, my friend put it really in a unique way. He said that, we basically are part like Android now, because like our phones are almost like a part of us. Like they're like, most of us have our phones on our body like most of the day, and like it's almost like an extended part of your limb or something, because we hold it so often. And it's fascinating. It's the thing about that too.
That's interesting. We're 70% water, like 5% phone. Yeah,
5% phone. Yeah, 5% iPhone, and yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that's. But again, like a lot of this stuff is this movie kind of made me think about too, and more, and that, again, that's why I think it holds up really well, because even 2016 was a different time, like which is crazy to say and how different it feels, but a lot has changed, but a lot is still the same. And I think, like I said, I think this movie really speaks to the current era of economics, and again, of these small towns that have kind of just been forgotten about, like where banks kind of roll in and take charge, and people just kind of hanging on,
which I think a lot of people don't understand how many towns that is. I mean,
I moved out
to Colorado, and by then I had lived in Italy and then been to Europe a few times. I'd never been past Chicago at that point. So I moved out to Colorado, and Denver was Denver was booming. But so many towns out there, even the nice towns you think of, Aspen, Telluride, all of these towns out there. And this is why I love them. They look the exact same way that they looked 100, 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Instead of the saloon, it was now called like Gary's Chicken Wings and Bar. I mean, like, but nothing changed. There were no second floors added to anything. Everything looked the exact same. And that is most of America. I mean, driving out there to Colorado, that's all you see is the small towns. Like, and I remember I used to get drunk and go out in Boston. And I used to always get super, not anxious, but I would get drunk. And I would look up at the skyscrapers and I'd go, how is everybody in the whole country not just always in awe that in less than 200 years we built Miami, Boston, Austin, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Minneapolis? How are we?
And major buildings, bridges, and highway systems, and everything. Yeah, it really is.
Less than 200 years. Like, or did we? Is that true? Did we, or is there something? Is this like the pyramids and aliens? How did we pull it off? But anyway, conspiracy wise, that's what I mean. That is, of course, there's a lot of major cities, but then most of the country is that backbone and these small towns that are barely hanging on. And
obviously, I lived in Vegas for a year last year, and obviously Nevada like is pretty much known for Reno and Vegas. But I drove a lot around. I went up north a little bit, and obviously explored the state because that's what I do. And yeah, same thing. Like you were saying, you just pass these, and you're almost like in awe. You're like, how is this little town in the middle of the desert just like surviving? There's just like a handful of people there, like not even a gas station, like there's like nothing like in
Yeah.
it's crazy, but I
And
mean families have been there for a long time, and it's wild.
I just wonder what it's gonna. I'm not saying these people should be leaving because they shouldn't be, but I'm
Mhm.
wondering what it's gonna take to get people to leave these towns. In 10, 15, 20 years, are all of these towns gonna be completely deserted and people are gonna move to the bigger cities because that's where any opportunity is, any rent can be. I mean,
That's a great point.
interest.
I mean, obviously I assume there are plenty of cool aspects about living in like a nowhere town.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could probably find like one person each town that's like a hipster that's just like has a lot of money and probably just like lives out there just because. But like I
Yeah.
said, you have generations of families, and I assume a lot of that is probably like there's a pride to it too. Like obviously it's like
Yeah.
no, like I'm not gonna like sell off my stuff and sell off my land and go live in the city. Fuck that. Like no, I'm gonna own my shit and live out here. But like you said, like especially in places like out west, especially in Vegas. I mean in Nevada, it's so much more difficult because it's the fucking desert. It gets hot out there, hot most of the year. So it's like there's so many more precautions you got to take, and to get resources. So it's fascinating. And that's such a big state too, man. Like so many of the states out west are huge, and it's like there's just yeah, like you said, we think of like everything being a city when it's really not. Like if anything, like you have the big city, and then all this extra space is all these small towns and plains and flatlands, and it's really wild.
When I think of America, I think of like there's Boston, and this is how people, I like I said, I lived in Italy. When you live in Italy, people come up to you and go, America, New York City, Los Angeles. That's all they know. They don't.
Yeah,
There's a picture going around on social media now about some country and what they think of America, and it just says Texas across the whole country.
Texas. Yeah,
But that literally is how it is. People come up to you in America, go, "Are you from New York City?" And you go, well, 6 hours north of it, but sure, because nobody knows even Boston. I mean, so and that's really what our country is. There's New York, there's Boston, there's Texas, and there's California, and the rest of it is just these small towns. And
well, I mean, there's obviously prominent cities down south too, and everything, and everywhere. Every state usually, I'm pretty sure every state has a pretty prominent city and pretty in culture and everything. But you're right. Yes.
South Dakota.
Fuck. I don't know. Wait. No, I don't remember. There's obviously I don't know. I don't know what the capital is of South Dakota. But I mean, the Dakotas. It might be the most like the best example of what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Idaho.
Boise.
Boise, nice.
You have Boise and another pretty big city too. I forget.
Sun Valley, not a big city, but a beautiful place.
Sun Valley in Idaho.
Yeah, have you been there?
I have been to Idaho actually. Idaho's really cool.
I really want to go to Sun Valley.
A lot of potatoes.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
Yeah. What else?
Yeah. I mean, it's
and like even Texas. Texas is a huge state, but obviously you have Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. Yeah, you have like these kind of places.
The rest of it is Friday Night Lights, pretty much across
right,
the small towns.
I've been to not Florida. I've been to Texas. I went last year. I drove across the country, and I only went through the top part, like that little like rectangle top part. Amarillo, I think, was like the biggest city I drove through. But yeah, like honestly, like that city was kind of built up, but everything else looked like this movie. It looked like Hell or High Water. It was just like all flat land, all like a lot of farms, a lot of old buildings and rusted out trucks, and it was actually really beautiful. I really want to go to Texas. I think there's a lot of cool stuff there, but
I'm wondering if the pandemic. I mean, we already know this because half of San Francisco left, but I'm wondering if the pandemic is going to see a reversal in this. Not only just a pandemic, but cost of things. People are going to be like, hey, I don't really want to live in Chicago anymore. I'm going to move to Podunk Town in insert state name and gentrify it. There's one of the episodes of Will and Grace I just watched. I'm not even watching the new season yet. I'm just watching the old ones. Will and what's his best friend's name?
And what? Sorry.
Will and Grace, Jack. Will and Jack
Oh,
buy a
okay.
place in, I think, what they think is New Hampshire, and it's like this gay town in New Hampshire. But then they wind up buying it in New York instead. So they move in, and all of the neighbors come in. They're like, "You moving into our territory? Are two you gay?" And they're like, no." And they're like, "Oh, damn it, we want gay neighbors." Like, and the whole entire joke of the episode is that like all of these straight people love it when the gays move to the neighborhood because they gentrify it and open up all these nice shops, and there's all these nice restaurants and pizza and
Yeah.
ice cream places, and it was just super funny. And they don't let them leave the town, like they make them stay there, and they're just always celebrating them just so they'll stay.
Well, I think you're onto something. I think that will happen, or maybe not so much that, but like yeah, like a lot people migrating and moving into smaller towns for the sake of cost of living and honestly too, I think culturally, like our generation and is it Gen X? That's the newer generation,
Yes.
or Gen
I'm
Z?
a,
No,
I'm a,
Gen Z is prior to us. Gen X is the newest generation, and like it just seems like everyone has this mentality of like, yo, like I don't want to slave for a company and get bare bones, and again, like what I've heard so many people say, oh, I want to buy a plot of land and live off of it and grow all my own food and have livestock, and yeah, like there is like a slow, almost like reversal going on, and also there's a lot of tiny home and like RV living now, and that's a huge thing that's only been ramping up for the past like 20-30 years now, which is really wild, but it's even got my attention. Like I've been into like that for a long time myself. I've always kind of dreamed of just selling everything and living in an RV or living in a even like a cargo van or something and just like saying fuck it, like there is something, I mean, there's something romantic about it, and obviously that lifestyle is hard. Like it's, if you literally just lived in a car or an RV, like that would be tough. Like there'd be a lot of like obstacles that you wouldn't have if you just lived in a house or an apartment. But it's kind of easy to see why I think this lifestyle is kind of catching on.
That's a funny meme that I saw. It was like 20 years ago. We were told that if you didn't succeed, you'd live in a van down by the river, and now that's the only definition of success, and it's very
Yeah.
true. And yeah, I mean, I think with everybody working remote, I mean, I work remote. My company's mostly remote. Every company, I work in recruiting, so I know this. Every company has to be remote. If you are not manufacturing or hiring doctors and nurses, you have to be remote these days. Even manufacturing is going remote. So the thing is I think people, they're 25, 26, 27, they're living in these big cities because that's where they work and it makes the commute easy and they're having fun, and then they kind of outgrow the whole party thing and now they can work from home, and they're like, why work from home in this congested, polluted city where I have to pay to park in a garage and all of this when I can like move onto a ranch in Montana? I saw a company today that lets their employees work from anywhere in the world for 90 days a year. And it's just
Oh
like,
wow.
you want to work on retention for a company, let them be remote, let them work in a different time zone, let them work out of a van because that's very much doable. And I can tell you this, in recruiting, it's basically, hey, you work on your own hours somewhat, not really, you work on your own time, you work from home, and if you're good at it, then cool, then you keep working, and if you're not good at it, then you get a different job in an office. But
Right.
it's becoming a lot more about trust, which I think is good. Is like, get your work done. That's all we care about. And yeah, I think it's definitely the right thing. Is I don't live far from Vermont, and I moved back here a year and a half ago to New England, and there are so many places in Vermont I've never seen, and places in Maine I've never seen, and like
Oh yeah.
I'm way more interested in those places. I'm way more interested to go there and get a cabin for a weekend than I am to like go into Boston, and that's not even a pandemic thing. That's just like
Yeah,
a
I agree.
nature over,
And it's fun, like yeah, like you said, like yeah, Vermont and New Hampshire are such beautiful states, and like even out here, like when I was in Vegas, I was always going outside of Vegas and exploring the desert, and now that I'm in San Diego, I'm like, there's just so much cool stuff out here to see that, or and I love the city for sure, but like I love the nature and I love the mountain ranges out here, and yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to see, but yeah, this is the kind of stuff this movie makes you think about. Like I said, a lot more relevant than I thought it would be, which is a
yeah.
great thing. And I guess yeah, any final thoughts on Hell or High Water?
Don't think I remember it being political when I first watched it, and I'm gonna regret saying this, but I think it's because I've become woke over the last 5 or 6 years, since 7 years came out.
Woke Mikey.
I'm very I've awoken. No, I think it's just super topical and political and edgy and correct, and well, I mean correct in the way of like this is this thing that some people are probably going to turn to, and this is accurate, and this is if you're going to force people off of their family's ranch, like that's literally their livestock, literally, like that's that's how they survive, and you're going to force them off of it, like. Yeah, I mean the whole rental thing in America is just crazy and all of that. Like
That's a whole nother thing about like how these big investment firms like BlackRock are buying up like I like buying up like single family homes, and like they want this idea of like how in the future it's gonna be a renter's future where everyone is just renting stuff, and it's like I don't know.
What is it?
What's that?
Sorry, my headphone fell out. So that
No,
one more time.
No, I was saying how like you have all these investment firms like BlackRock who are buying like single family homes and buying all this stuff, so they can own it and they can just rent out to people. And that's kind of this. I've been reading more about it, about the idea of like how the future is going to be like, everyone's going to be renters, like no one's going to own anything. And I think I forget if it was BlackRock, but there was a legitimate ad that was like, it was like in the future you will own nothing and be happy. And like people freaked out about it because it's like that's some dystopian shit right there. I mean, granted, I guess in one aspect, like that's the whole thing about like enlightenment, where it's like, hey, like you don't need anything to be happy. You just need the air you breathe and family and water and sunlight, and you're good. But like, on the same end, it's creepy. Like there's
so $1 billion CEOs want us to feel happy having nothing
while
they buy another mansion.
That's the thing. Yeah, they got mega yachts and private planes. Like, yeah, you guys, you're good. You guys are good. You got water. You're okay. By the way, water is a sponsor of this show.
And trees and Ridgelight Studios for all your photography needs.
Ridgelight Studios, hell yeah! Shout out to them.
I feel like middle class is just like completely just.
Well, that's what this movie like makes you feel. You're like, okay, like people resort to crazy things just to have a house, right? Just to be able to live. Like that's all people. That's what most people want, right? We just want to be secure in our homes and have some sense of autonomy
and our heads. And I mean, this was a family ranch that they had for decades, if not centuries, and now it's being taken away. So he has to rob the banks so he can pay them back to get the. That's just.
It's wild.
It's tiring.
Wild. But yeah, it is. But I agree with you. Like you said, I was actually surprised by how political this movie was, and for the most part, yeah, it might be a little like hitch on the head with it, but it's very relevant, and I think for the most part, it's handled really well. And I think everyone, Chris Pine and Ben Foster and Gil Birmingham and Jeff Bridges, all play their parts really fucking well. It's a great movie. Like I said, it's a great mix. It's a little political. It's action. There's a lot of good action in this movie. It's very thoughtful, and yeah, it's definitely one we would recommend for sure. Like it's a good example of a modern Western for sure. Yeah.
Can you do a Jeff Bridges impression?
Like from this movie specifically, or
no, just in general. So I learned from a comedian. He's the Two Broke Girls. He played the guy in the kitchen. His name's
I didn't.
He's absolutely hilarious. He's a brilliant comedian. Probably the best impressionist of today. He's absolutely fantastic. Let me look up his name real quick. I've watched him on a couple podcasts. He needs his own special. But he does he does impressions of people that nobody else does. So like he does like, the Christopher Walken, but then he'll do like Tom Hanks, and he'll just do things that nobody else does. Jonathan Kite. And he said the way to do Jeff Bridges is to pretend that there's peanut butter in the roof of your mouth.
Oh, okay.
So you go, no, I don't want her dude.
Okay.
Hey, dude.
So peanut butter at the top of your mouth. Okay. Like a little peanut butter up there in my mouth. Now, and I just like I'm trying to do, because sometimes his pronunciation of words in this movie are like they just all blend together. Yeah. You got that like accent a little bit like that.
I gotta get white Russian.
Yeah, yeah.
Her dude. I have the.
Hey man.
Hey man.
That's just
there it is. Oh, there it is.
Man.
Wait. Okay. Ready. Her man. Right.
Oh shit. Okay, that was actually pretty good.
Is that better? Yeah.
That was better. Yeah.
I don't know why I keep saying dude. They call him the dude.
Yeah, they call him dude. He's the dude.
He goes. Her man. It's Jeff Bridges. Nope. I lost it.
Yeah. That when you said hey man earlier, that was on point. Yeah.
It's just it's all talking out of your nose. I'm Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, actually, your face too. Just like the lip quiver thing you did there. That looks like him.
Yeah, God,
Good times.
I love Ben Foster so much.
Yeah, I gotta watch more stuff with him in it because he's fantastic. Yeah.
I don't know much by Chris Pine. He is in Star Trek.
Yeah, Captain Kirk in the Star Trek movies, and he's now in Wonder Woman.
Oh, he's great in Wonder Woman.
I like him a lot, and like I said, to me, I mean, I could be wrong because there's also a lot of movies of his I haven't seen, but like it just seems like nowadays, and not in a bad way, but he plays like again a lot of like heroic, hair slicked back, kind of heroines. But like in this movie, he's down and dirty, from Texas, and like he sells it completely, and his range of emotions in this movie are very subtle. He plays extremely well. But yeah, great cast overall.
What would Psycho Gorman call him if he saw him?
What would Psycho Gorman call him? I don't know. Oh, I know what he'd call him. He would see he'd see them robbing the bank, running out with the money, and he goes, "Those are two hunky boys."
God, Psycho Gorman needs like 12 sequels. They're doing they're doing a fourth John Wick, and then they're doing a TV show about the hotel, and then I think they're doing an animated show of John Wick. I want all of that with Psycho Gorman. I want lunchboxes. I want trading cards. I want Pogs. I want video games in 8-bit. I'm just like
I could definitely see like a cool like early 90s like stylized like cartoon series of Psycho Gorman or something.
That'd be so cool.
But yeah, sequels would be cool. I don't know if they're gonna do it, but that'd be great. I'm all for it.
Are we the only ones who found that to be the greatest movie ever fucking made?
Seems like it. I mean, I've seen it pop up in some lists, but it definitely isn't like, I mean, in it's kind of being viewed in a sense as like a cult-ish hit. I think it's probably too young of a movie to be called a cult movie, but it's getting that status where it's like, it definitely has an audience for sure. But,
I was just going to say, it's super cool. A bunch of top 20 horror movie lists of 2021 had Wrong Turn and Psycho Gorman on there. So if you're listening to our podcast, we know what we're talking about. That's why I created a whole website to recommend things to you. I mean, listen to us. If we talk about a movie, it's probably going to wind up on a best of list. Maybe Absolutely. Not Oscars, but a list. A list is good.
Yeah, Psycho Gorman ain't being watched by the Oscar voters, though it should be. But Lay Liotta, man, check it out when it's it's good to go, and hopefully we can give you some good recommendations. And as usual, www.theweiliotispodcast.com. Good directory.
HTTP /
Yeah, / Well, I said it because at the moment you have to put www. I have to fix that. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you don't, it doesn't recognize it. But however you're watching this right now, in the description you'll find the link to our website. It will link us to all of our social media accounts. We are on YouTube. Especially if you're watching this video, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So check us out there if you can. Leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else. We'd love to hear feedback. What you think of the movie? Any recommendations on what you might want to see in the future? Let us know. We are all ears.
If you don't want to type in www.theweiliotispodcast.com.
Well, that's why I said the description.
Well, I was going to say, no, go to rayliotta.com because on there we're going to link our social media and website anyway. So
exactly.
If you don't want to type in the Weiliotis,
it all feeds into each other.
Yeah, just go to Ray Liotta. And we're not going to create a social media page for Ray Liotta because that's too much extra work, and it'll be linked to Weiliotis podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, not needed.
Under the same umbrella.
Exactly.
Say hi, dog.
Oh yeah. Look at the
he has been here the whole entire podcast.
Oh.
He's just chilling. I just took a picture of him and he looked like Ron Perlman. I called him Ron Pugman.
Yeah. He's adorable.
On sign-off notes, hey Toby, go fuck yourself.
Oh, we're doing that.
No, that feels too mean. Do you want to do it?
Well, I mentioned that because I thought you were going to say, "Hey Tom." Yeah, I thought you quoted the exact movie.
I had to look up the name. Toby.
Oh, it's like, and yeah.
Toby.
Yeah. Michael, go fuck yourself. That didn't sound like Jeff Bridges.
Jeff, We gotta do like a Jeff London Bridges falling down. Can you Photoshop that? I love the ones that are like
Yeah, I can do
Glenn
that.
Close, Glenn Far Away. Have you ever seen those
Oh,
before?
yeah.
I'm
Definitely.
I always think
Ben Banana Foster.
oh, that's good. I always think I come up with one. Okay, ready?
Chris Pine Tree.
Drew. Oh, that's good. Drew Barrymore. But then you could have a picture of her dropping all of the berries. Drew Barry Less.
Okay, I like that.
But like every time I think I come up with one, I Google it. Somebody else has made it already, and I'm like,
oh yeah, we gotta think of some.
Yeah.
Or we could just do spoonerisms more. We could just do Jeff Bridges Bref Jizzes.
Bref Jizzes. Oh my god, that's a great porn name.
Yeah, it is. Damn.
Oh my god, I'm Bref Jizzing.
Bref Jizzing, yeah.
I'm gonna Bref Jizz. Fen Boster.
Fen Boster, I like that. That sounds like an indie band or something.
Fen Boster the people. Chris Pine would be
Piskine.
Piskine. Well, this is fun.
Yeah, spoonerisms are fun. They are very fun.
Spoonerisms. That's just
Wikey meal.
Wikey meal. Yep, that's like that. Just sounds like an oatmeal that you would have. Yeah.
Wikey meal. Yeah, I could see that.
Vom Teliotis.
Vom Teliotis. Yeah, I like that.
Next time you see like an ugly person, go, ugh. Vom Teliotis.
No, it sounds like a Harry Potter like thing. Vom Teliotis.
It just makes people throw up. Just that's all it is.
Yeah. Why throwing up? Why is that the image that is in your mind?
Vom.
Oh yeah, vom. Okay, that makes sense.
That's cool kids say. Like, oh, I vommed.
Yeah, that should be in Fantastical Beasts. Vom Teliotis, and then someone just projectile vomits.
Yeah, we gotta write for things. Like lots of things.
Yeah. Ideas, man. They're flowing. They flow when I do this podcast.
Hire us, people, and then we can record even more around our writing schedules.
I know, which we got to get back to. But anyway,
halfway through the podcast, you have a Breaking Bad shirt on.
I know. I think I've worn this one on the show too. I've had this shirt for like 12 years. It still fits. But anyway, yeah. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, sayonara, yo.